I think I'm going to call this video Problems with Pot-in-Pot Propagation. And the reason for that is, so far what I've seen about pot-in-pot growing and growing out plants hasn't taught me what I'm dealing with in reality. So, it seems to be ideal for some plants, and definitely not good enough for others. Let's take a look. What is it ideal for? It is absolutely ideal for plants that have trouble getting going and whose root ball doesn't go everywhere. So far, the most ideal plant that I have growing in the pot-in-pot nursery is Saskatoon. These little baby ones love the shelter of just being down inside all other plants. And I don't even know if you'll be able to see it because the lighting's a little odd, but there's a baby Saskatoon, and there's another one over here that's doing great, being overrun by my ground cover and loving it. And then they get up to about this height, and that is a gallon pot in there. There's another small one that's loving being overrun by the ground cover. And another. They're all over the place in here, and you can barely see them. They're preferred browse for a lot of different animals, and since I have groundhogs, it's difficult. I have another one that ended up underneath hops, but let's talk about a couple of plants that aren't suitable for pot-in-pot, really, and I'm trying to do some brainstorming here. And if you have ideas, excellent. So I just put a couple of the female hops. This is 6-inch deep mulch, and I just mounded mulch around them. And here's why. Here's the male. I care less if it lives. Look at this. Look at this. And that snapped, right? So now I'm going to have invasive hops all through my tight growing field. This has happened with other plants too. Notably, most notably so far, with milkweed. So these were just little pots of milkweed getting started, and they rooted direct to the ground. And they aren't coming back out. So here's how much I had to destroy the area around the one hops in order to even get most of the root out. It's like, here's some more. I apologize if my hat string falls into view. I apologize. Yeah, so, and it's, oh, is it in there? Made that whole rock move, which means I gotta lift the rock. Now the one thing with hops is that instead of being a taproot, these are surface roots. Can I find it? I guess that might be it. I don't know. Made the whole rock move, but I don't know where that root went before it snapped. So, I'm suspicious that I may end up having to upturn my entire growing field if I want to deal with the hops problem organically. Now, I'm not like certified organic or anything, so if it doesn't work out, that's fine. I've been using pieces of old, you know, this kind of shelving to protect from falling in. Because when you have one empty, it's hard to notice not to step there. So that's another trouble. You can see that this one, in addition to having several more very established roots, it sent these all the way up into my seed bed. which is super annoying. I had to partially deconstruct my seed starting bed, and that's a hops root. Should be a female. So in some ways that's maybe a clone of a female hops and already knowing what gender it is. In other ways, that's a major problem for this section of the garden. And the milkweed put down such a taproot that there's really not going to be any getting rid of that. So my theory as of today is that maybe the moisture retention and root properties of pot and pot can be attained with deep mulch underneath. The rest of this mulch is about 5 inches deep. Starting to dig so that I can show you just how far down you gotta get before there's soil. We're not there yet. We're still not there. So this is how, yeah, I'm almost there maybe? No, there's still further to go. So it's, wow. See how deep in the hole I am, and I'm still not reaching soil yet. That's with my finger fully extended. It's from there to my wrist. Yeah. So, garden rake for scale. That's probably a good 8 inches of mulch that I put in. So there's 8 inches of loose fill mulch underneath these, and then another, however tall the pot is, of mulch around it. And I'm going to have to water them in real good because I did just basically rip the root system all to bits. But I'm wondering if this will end up being more viable, because, whew, that's annoying to say the least to have to deal with. Some people end up killing off hops, but that is mainly because the preferred growing method calls for cutting all but 3 of the strands, even on a very mature plant, and they do eventually die. Apparently the Blackhawks think I'm in trouble here. There's another one over there. Woo! There was a bug on my neck. Don't mind my squeak. So, yeah, the wildlife likes me right now. So this is to protect the Saskatoon from that groundhog. I'm going to put another brick on top of it. And I am going to reconstruct my seed bed. And I'm going to put another seed bed here as long as I can make it be with this extra screening that I do have. It's going to be interesting to see what's still possible here. Wondering how very rooted. Okay, so sage is a good plant for this. I think echinacea and violets will be. And that is double potted. With as clay rich as my soil is, I have found that single pot is plenty, because the hole just stays open unless you have to get out the digging fork to break the plant free. So that's what's going on here. The theory that only the water and feeding roots go through the bottom of the pot is indeed theory for these plants. And I don't know if it would be different if I were lifting them weekly to like detach them. That might be. If I was going to market with plants and putting them back every single week, then maybe. And I don't think it's a size of pot question either. I ended up with a non-native milkweed, which they are starting to theorize that, I'm pretty sure this is a non-native milkweed, but I'm going to hang on to it till I'm positive. They're starting to theorize that they don't have the level of toxins needed for the caterpillars to become toxic to birds, which is the only thing that keeps them from getting eaten, and that might be a big component of the problem with the monarch population these days. So I made sure I got native milkweed, and then a friend of mine ended up with this in the stuff. I potted it up, but it also did the growing out the bottom of the pot thing. And there's some remnant of root in there. Another thing is, if you have slugs as a general problem, the slugs do nest up alongside the space between the pot. There's crickets and bugs in there right now. The space between the pot and the dirt ends up hatching a lot of slugs, so it's not going to help your slug situation if you have that. And you're probably going to have to build some sort of fencing or critter protection structure if you want to grow more delicate plants. Thinking about making little domes. We'll see how that goes. For like a Saskatoon row, maybe just have an entire row that's just Saskatoon and protect it, because it seems to be the one that really needs it. So yeah, that's what's going on with all of this. It's not perfect, but I'm learning, and I did backfill this hole because I kept falling into it. It's like an extension of the path, but I had a pot there, and it's a miracle I didn't bust myself multiple times, so there we have it. Alright, so there's your little overview of problems and concerns